got the goods. Let's roll back. My name is Chris Allen Lee, and I'm here to show you what it's really like to run your own startup, work remotely, and try to balance life all at the same time. So I splurged a little bit on my new one wheel. It's freaking amazing. Absolutely love it. It's my new trail rider, mail getter, and just all around fun time having a break from work. Exciting machine. I'm actually doing a lot more client work and freelancing, and it just made on October a super amazing monster month, especially with some new upgrades from Smart Hash. So I just decided to splurge a little bit. All right, so there's a lot of ways to hire your first developer to create your MVP, your minimum viable product, but I'm gonna tell you what I think is the best way and quickest way to hire a really good dev. So here we go. So first of all, hiring a developer may not actually be the first thing you want to do. The first thing you actually want to do most of the time is to actually create a mock-up or a wireframe of your app. You basically should have a mock-up or a wireframe for every single page of your website or your app before even going to a developer. Those mock-ups are going to be very valuable information for you and the developer when discussing things like timelines and possibly budgets. So those things should be hashed out prior. There are a ton of online websites that help you create mock-ups or websites, especially if you're looking into designing a mobile app for iOS or Android. They have all the little buttons and widgets and everything that you can just kind of drag and drop. So those are really cool. You could always hire a designer if you want, but if you want to go lean, why not just do it yourself? And that's exactly the way you want it. So along with your mockups and wireframes, you should also have something that we call a feature list. There should be a list of all of the features, everything that the user can do on your app listed out in kind of like a bullet points. Nothing is too small to put on this feature list. The feature list and the mockups are basically what the developer is going to go off by in knowing what things need to be done and when their process of building it is complete. So don't assume that anything is obvious. You want to make sure that you include things like, the sign up and login pages. So anything that you can think of, every specific page and little feature or user interaction that the user can do, just make sure it's in that feature list, and then you are good to go. You're covered, and the developer knows everything that you want. Now, with that being said, there are reasons why you may want to consult a developer first. And one of those reasons may be to just see if your idea is even technologically possible. That would be something great to check out before you spend a lot of time designing some mockups or wireframes. But other than that, really you want to get those wireframes and mockups and your feature lists taken care of. So you got your mockups, you got your wireframes, you got your feature lists. How do you find a developer? For me, honestly, I think the best way to find a developer is websites like Upwork.com or other freelancing websites that are similar. For me, I like Upwork.com. They have great tools for being able to craft your job posting and also how to filter and interview prospective developers. They even handle the money transactions via escrow. So that way they ensure that both parties are satisfied before any money exchanges hands, which is really, really helpful. Okay, so a few notes on actually crafting your job posting on Upwork.com or any other similar freelancing website. You want to keep your title super simple and straightforward. So something simple like social media iOS app, or dating website, or an Android utility app. Don't get fancy. You're not trying to pitch an investor. The title should include the platform that you're trying to build your project on, and just a little bit of a description, like a word or a phrase that will help the developer understand what you're actually looking to build. These two things are what developers want to know. They want to know what platform you're building on, because they'll immediately know, yeah, I can build an iOS app, or yeah, I can build an Android app, or yes, I'm familiar with building websites, so they know that they can actually work and perform the project well. But that phrase actually helps in a lot of ways in understanding what the total scope of the project is. It might just seem like a little phrase like dating website or a social media app, but phrases like that can help developers understand immediately, like, okay, you'll probably need a login, a sign-up page. There'll probably be an API backend with a database so that you can keep all the users' information there. If it's a social media app, you'll probably want pictures and images, so we'll need to make sure that it can handle that. It actually tells you a lot of information as a developer to know what the whole scope is of what you're wanting. And then after the title, along with that, you can include as long as a description as you'd like. Make sure to attach those mock-ups and wireframes and the feature list so that they can get the full scope if they want it. But honestly, most developers will figure out whether they want to work on your project or not just based on two things: the title and the budget. Okay, so this is where I think a lot of people go wrong. There's basically two ways to craft your job posting, either as a fixed budget or an hourly budget, right? Now, I highly recommend that you create your job posting as an hourly budget, and this is why. You want to make sure that you're not blowing your budget, but as a developer, it's honestly really difficult to know and estimate how long something's going to take. And because of that, most of the time they're going to be overreaching and asking for way more just so they have that cushion when things go awry or things take a little bit longer than expected. To complicate things even more, what about if you're in the middle of getting your app built and you decide that you want more features? You can't just ask the developer to make those changes because they weren't taking that into account when they created their first estimates. So this becomes a whole new renegotiation problem, and it can really sour the whole thing. But on an hourly budget, you don't need to renegotiate anything. You could add 30 more features and 50 more pages, and it doesn't matter because the developer will do the work and they'll get compensated accordingly for the extra work. But I know that you're worried about blowing your budget and spending way too much on creating this app, so this is what I recommend. Instead of coming up with a fixed cost to build the entire app, I would recommend coming up with a monthly budget. Find out how much extra money you have per month to allocate to building this app, and then divide that by 4 so you can have a weekly budget, and that way you can divide that by the developer's hourly rate, which gives you how many hours the developer can actually work per week on your app. And then once you have that, you can set that as the hourly limit so that the developer will never actually go over that. You make sure that you never go over budget per week or even by month. The developer is happy because they're getting the hourly rate, and you'll be happy because you're not breaking that monthly budget. And you can also always make additions or changes along the way, and there's no need to renegotiate anything. Okay, so moving on. You're on Upwork.com, you're on the freelancing website, you've created your job posting, you're starting to get developers interested in, they're applying for your job. How do you pick the right one? So here are 3 questions that you should absolutely be asking every developer who's interested in applying for your job. So number 1, pretty obvious, is what's your hourly rate? Your instinct is probably to want to go to the lowest hourly rate, but you also want to balance that with somebody who's actually experienced and knows how to build the app or website quickly. That way you're not paying for somebody to learn how to build an app. And so this is where the other 2 questions kind of come in and trying to figure out where their experience lies. So the second question you want to ask is, are you a full stack developer? What the hell does that mean? A full stack developer is basically a jack of all trades. They know how to build on every single level of an app, to the front end, which is basically the actual screens that you see, to the back end, things that you don't see, like the databases and the servers and any little back end APIs that you may need. I'm talking a lot of mumbo jumbo, but there's just a lot encompassing to building an app. So To kind of give you a little bit of an analogy, if you were to build a house, a full stack developer knows how to frame the house, how to put up drywall, put the roof on. They can lay down the sod and plant the trees outside. They know how to pour the concrete outside for your sidewalks. They can decorate all of the rooms according to your taste. They know how to install the electricity, the plumbing, and the internet, and also knows how to go to the third-party services to get those actually working in the house. Basically, everything is taken care of so that when you walk into the house for the first time, all the furniture is there, all the lights turn on, all the faucets turn on with water, electricity is running, you got internet. Full stack developer is basically the structural engineer, the construction worker, the electrician, the plumber, the interior designer, and basically everything in between, so that when you walk into the house, you don't have to worry about shit. Everything's done. With a full stack developer, you can make sure that every little facet of how to build an app is done, so you don't have to worry about anything when it's all said and finished. Plus, you only have to pay one person, so works out for you. And then the third and last question that you want to ask is, can you send me a link to some of your other work? This way you can make sure that you know that they're up to the challenge, that they have the skill sets and know how to actually build the website or app or whatever you're trying to build. And you can also get an idea if they're actually worth the hourly price that they're asking for. With these three basic questions, you should be able to get an idea and filter down and hire a developer that you're going to be happy to work with. Speaking of developers, I got a lot of client work that I gotta finish and a lot of trails to shred. So I'm gonna get back to it and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Hey guys, if you like that video, don't forget to smash that like button. You could also hit here to subscribe to the channel. If you want to see other videos in this series, you can click down here. Or if you want to support me, go ahead and click the link in the description. Try SmartHash for free.